Well, hello, friends. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's conversation. I just said us, but I'm actually not joined with my co host Taylor this week. She is at the Engage conference having just such a great time at this amazing networking event. If you guys aren't following us already on Instagram, she had been posting the most amazing behind the scenes from Engage. Definitely head over to Instagram and give us a follow so that you can see some of that really fun content that we just continually put out there. And it's just a really fun community over there on Instagram. You can find us at the Level Up Co. and we hope to see you over there. But I had the most amazing conversation with Molly and Sana of Bash Please Events. They are luxury planners based in both Los Angeles and San Francisco. And we talked all about how they came to be this amazing duo. They have a great team built behind Bash Please Events. We know that you're going to love this one, and we can't wait for you to join this conversation.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together. Well, hey, Molly. Hey, Sana. I am so excited to be chatting with you both. We met about a year ago at a really fun retreat in Florida, and it's so great to be in touch with you guys again.
We're excited to be here. I know, I was saying to Molly this morning, that feels like so long ago.
It literally feels like a lifetime ago. How has your 2024 year been? Or first, let me rewind it. You two are the co-owners of Bash Please, an amazing event production company in LA and San Francisco. Can you guys kind of tell a little bit of the listeners about who you guys are, a little bit more about Bash Please, and when you guys all came to be in this crazy luxury space?
Yeah, you want to go? Sure, I'd be happy to. So you obviously already gave us an introduction, and we do have offices both in San Francisco and Los Angeles. We have a team of 6. Our team is primarily split between those 2 locations, but we work together collaboratively on every event as a team, no matter where we are. We do a lot of destination, and really destination for us even is in California. You know, if we're on the Central Coast and we're in Santa Barbara and that type of thing, it's still a destination, whether people are coming from LA, coming from the North. A lot of times our clients will be from out of state, and we are the ones that are kind of local to everything. Or other times we're all kind of jumping on planes and going to a remote destination or another country for kind of multi-day events that we're usually kind of doing for the most part.
Incredible.
I would say, yeah. And, we've been doing this for about, 8 years now in the private planning sector. But as far as our backgrounds go, Sana and myself have had numerous years in hospitality, more years than we should probably even admit, because it will definitely show our true age of all of that. But we've been doing this for quite a long time, from hotels to catering. And our team has also kind of all had their own experience in different ways. Yeah, it's
So
definitely
amazing.
a good rounded group. I would say everything from like design, fashion design, art design, production, houses, like private planning, even just restaurants, hotels, like just big hospitality background. So it's nice to have a diverse group of women who all have different styles and different tastes and different strengths and different weaknesses, because collectively we can relate to kind of any situation, any client, any family, and that's kind of across the board, because we also do corporate in addition to weddings. So
Okay, cool. So you guys are weddings, also corporate. I love that you guys spoke that you came from a hospitality background, because Taylor and I talk a lot about this on the podcast, that as you kind of scale your business from maybe more that mainstream budget market into the luxury market, we even see ourselves, I see myself less as a filmmaker and in the film space and more in the hospitality realm of things. And I think for photographers too, that's a huge differentiator when you start to work with this level of clientele is the level of hospitality is just so unmatched in other sectors of the market. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is, I mean, if we're talking wedding specific, you're getting people, you know, who are probably like late 20s, early 30s, early 40s, who have, you know, grown up this way. Their own business is probably somewhat like intertwined in this kind of market, whether, you know, they're investors in restaurants or investors in hotels, you know, car collectors, things like that. Like there's things that are just so different and so unique to them that maybe people outside of, I think, this market like wouldn't quite understand or like really know what's important. And I think that there's just so many strong pillars that stand out in the market. And as you kind of grow and change, and I mean, I think anybody can relate to it. If you book an Airbnb online, that's $250 a night. And then the next weekend you stay at a Four Seasons, that's $2,000 a night. You can see the difference, you know? So I think it's kind of basically the same.
Yeah, that's so true. So you guys, 8 years as this partnership together. What made you guys join in on this partnership together? How did you guys know each other prior to this? I'd love to kind of hear your guys' backstory from that personal level and how it evolved into a professional partnership.
Our paths crossed first, I think, when Sana was working for a hotel in San Francisco, and I was actually working for a caterer here. And again, we both, but kind of before that, had worked for numerous hotels. Sana had also done kind of some private planning as well, and that's really where our paths also crossed. We kind of worked together. She was my client for a bit, and then she actually ended up joining me at the catering company, and we worked there together for a few years. And the company that we were with really kind of continued to grow and evolve, and we were doing quite a bit more planning for the company besides kind of just the standard catering piece of it. And I think after, you know, many conversations, many dinners over and over, we knew that we were ready to kind of take things outside of that and do something on our own. And 2016, we took the leap and haven't looked back since then.
I love it. That's so great. And you guys, I feel like with any partnership, there can be challenges, but it is so rewarding to have someone to lean on, especially when you guys are in, a similar direction, you have a similar growth trajectory. I was just looking at your Instagram, because you guys have just like such a clear, for me, when I look at the events that you produce, your Instagram feed, your website, it's so clear, like who the Bash Please client is. And in your bio, you guys say that you're the trendsetters, tastemakers, and architects of the luxury space. Can you walk me through a little bit, and the listeners too, as to why you guys have chosen those words to describe your business and to attract your ideal clients?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I'm glad to hear that it's clear who our clientele is. I mean, of course, we want to attract like-minded people, everything from, you know, how they view hospitality and hosting, how they view fashion, their own lifestyle. But I think for us, it's really important that, you know, there's some people out there where you look at an event and you're like, oh, of course, this is theirs. It looks the same. There's this like formula of vendors. There's this formula of, you know, everything down to the linen or the way the napkins folded. And for us, I think that feels really boring. So we try to really get to know people and cultivate relationships with people where we're working together to bring on a team of amazing people, whether they're people we've worked with or people that the client has a relationship with. And then also just infusing their own personality. It just so happens that usually their personality and taste matches ours. But I think for us, when we say like tastemakers and trendsetters, I think it's just little things that kind of set us apart. You know, like a good example is, I think it was 2020 or 2021, you know, we had a client who every time they traveled to a new place, they would get really small tattoos together to like mark the place that they went to. And so they were telling us about this, like, I think over like old fashions one night or something like that. And they were just telling us, and we were just like, oh, we should have a tattoo artist at your wedding. And they were like, oh my God, is that an option? And we're like, of course it's an option. So I think quietly we did it. Maybe a year later, we like posted about it. And then fast forward 2 years and like, there's 5 different weddings where there's like a tattoo artist. So I think it's little things like that. By no means are we saying we're like the trendsetters that created tents and, you know, walls behind bands and all of those things. I think those are things that just automatically sort of fit the equation and happen. You're outside, it's sunny, you need a tent. It's, you know, raining, or there's a chance of rain because you're in the Hamptons, you need a tent. Like, no one's breaking, you know, new molds here with that. But I think there's like the little subtle things that we do that always stand out and do sort of create this like momentum, this trend that happens like quietly amongst the industry. And I think for us, the quiet part speaks volumes. Like, we're not always trying to go into, you know, somebody's home and make it look completely different, or go to, you know, Mexico and like build all these crazy structures. Sure, that happens sometimes, but like that's not where, it's not what we're looking to do. If it happens, great. We're always up for the challenge. We could do it, no problem. But for us, it's about like quietly going into a space, making it look relevant to where we are, and then also making it interesting and beautiful. So I think by like trend setting and taste making, that's what we mean.
That's cool. And then tell me about the architect part, because I don't think I've ever heard of a brand or a planner say like, and the architects of the luxury space. So I love that word and the use of it. I'd love to hear like the thought process behind that.
Yeah, well, on our team, one of our graphic designers is a trained architect. So
Amazing.
that person, and I guess that would probably like go more towards our corporate events, which unfortunately for us, we don't show a ton of, just because a lot of times it's, you know, private equity, private NDAs, things like that. But in a lot of those spaces where, you know, last year, for example, we built a whole mini golf course. So
Wow.
we are architects in that sense. We're drawing out, you know, a 10,000 square foot mini golf course for our clients. We're building things that are unusual, and we wouldn't be able to do that without being able to architect the entire event from A to Z. So in that world, yes, I guess you could say anyone's an architect of, you know, again, doing tenting, lighting,
A floor plan.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's on, you know, CAD and things like that. And that's great. It's so important and just further excels people. But I think for us, like really having like full architect behind the majority of our events is just an added bonus.
That's so great. That's so great. When you guys joined and became this 2016 it was, did you guys have like, did you set clear goals and visions for what you wanted for Bash Please and where you wanted to be now sitting in 2024? Was it in alignment with where you are now? Are your minds just blown to how much your business has grown?
Well, I think the first year was like survival year, which I think anyone kind of starting a business, you don't know what you don't know the first year of everything that comes, well, you know, financially, of things that get thrown at you, the way that processes are kind of put together. And again, also, you know, with us, we have a team with us, and our team has definitely changed over the years. You know, there've been a couple people that have been with us from day one, and others that have kind of come in and come out too. So I would say that the size of our team has pretty much stayed the same. You know, every year we have the conversations of, what if we did this? What if we did that? Can we try this? And so we're always kind of trying things. I really think that, you know, the pandemic was a year that we tried new things because we had nothing else to try. I mean, all we were doing as the rest of the world postponing things. And that's really even, you know, on our side where we changed, you know, the way that we charge from being in a flat fee to a percentage base. That's also the year that, you know, we changed the way that like design presentations looked and how we were going to approach things with clients. And we were going to bring in artists to do sketches of events and everything kind of that way. So, you know, 2020, while other people had hobbies of like baking banana bread, I did make a few banana breads and postpone events. Other than that, that was the year that we just pretty much threw things up and see if we, could change them around a bit.
That's great. I love what you said too, where you said that first year was just survival mode for you. And it is so true. Whether you're a planner, a photographer, a florist, you're just, yeah, throwing things at a wall, seeing what sticks, figuring out. Taylor loves the analogy where it's you build the parachute on the way down. And I think that's what we all do when we start our business. You build the parachute on the way down. And I remember our first year was 2010. We had finished the year. We were having dinner with a group of photographers, and a photographer said to me, "Congratulations, you just finished your hardest year." Now, I mean, 2020, we all didn't know that that was probably going to be a really friggin' hard year in 2021 and all the craziness of that. But no, it's so true. I really do feel like our first year was our toughest year, and maybe you agree too.
Yeah, and there wasn't, your first year, there's not any kind of like metrics to follow of how you book, when you book. The first year was, well, let's see when the next event comes in and the next event. But since then, and I'm definitely the more spreadsheet based of the two of us. And so I always kind of keep a record of when all of our events book. So when we go into a new year, I can say, if Senna says we feel slow, I can go back and say, well, we only actually had 2 events at this time last year booked for the next year. And again, the same thing, or I felt so crazy busy at the moment. And I can go back and say, well, this is usually when we're bringing on all kinds of new events. So we can, track that too, which yes, definitely helps. And again, every year, you learn in your business how to have hard conversations with clients and
how to say no,
how to push people in the direction that we know is right when they think that their, reasoning and thought is the better way of doing something.
Yeah. Another thing that you said previously that I want to circle back to is you said that in 2020, that's when you changed how you charged. So you went from a flat fee into a percentage-based pricing model. Some of the listeners here, I mean, Brooke Keegan talked a little bit about it a few weeks ago, the percentage-based pricing model. But if someone's tuning in now, it's their first episode, can you kind of, you know, like top level, what does that exactly mean? Because a lot of planners out there are still on, like, especially in the budget or mainstream market, they're still charging flat fees. What made you guys make that shift to where it was more worth it for you? Was it pure profitability? Was it just needed to make more sense based on the level of events you guys were doing now?
I think we really made that switch. 2019 was a really successful and big year for us. And a lot of that year were events that started at one place, but by the time that we came to the event day, they were a whole different scale of events. And really, we realized that the flat fee was not fully compensating us for our time. It looked perfect when we knew that it was going to be a 1-day wedding that, was going to take place here. And then by the end, we had 4 days of events. We had, days of welcome bags being put together. We had structures going up. We had all of that kind of went into it. So, our kind of thought on the percentage model is the more that your event kind of encompasses, the more time obviously it is on our end. And then that's kind of how we get compensated too. I also think that over the years we've gone from having 1-day events to now we're usually doing multi-day events. And it's easier than, drawing kind of the line of saying, well, that's a Friday event and that's under this flat fee. And then the wedding is this flat fee. And so we moved to it and, it's been great. We charge very much like I had also kind of, listened with Brooke too. We charge a percentage, but we don't put in kind of the guest hotel rooms too. There's been a few times throughout the last couple of years where we have been almost the concierge and putting guests into rooms. That's when it looks a little bit different. But for the most part, it's either, working with a travel company or also working with us because we have kind of our own travel agent, IATA number 2. So we're really clear with clients of we're not putting a percentage on that because that's already a way that, we're making money too. So we don't put that in budget, but other than that, everything else of like the overall investment kind of goes into it. We're pretty clear with people kind of upfront that we don't have to be part of your entire weekend of events, but especially when it's destination, it's almost always something that they end up selecting. By the time that guests get there, we've helped them arrange car services and get from the airport and activities and kind of all of that. So we're just so closely in touch with the guests that we pretty much are always doing kind of the full weekend of events.
Yeah, I think so. One thing that I want to say is like for people that are just either starting or not comfortable charging a percentage, I also think if you do charge a percentage, like you have to be so on your game. I mean, Molly does all of our financials and you're like a hawk in there. So if you miss something, you could screw yourself or potentially the client, which then lacks transparency. And I think if people don't feel ready to do that, they shouldn't. And I think if people feel like, you know what, I'm really comfortable here. I'm really comfortable in this space of whatever my flat fee is per event or for the weekend, or I charge a rate that includes my production staff. Like there's just no right or wrong answer. I think you just have to like do what you do and then see if it works. I mean, there's some top planners that still charge a flat fee, and those events are events I would love to work on. You know what I mean? And if they came to us and said, hey, I can't do this, can you take it, but you have to charge a flat fee, we would. So there's no like smoke and mirrors here to think that like everybody does it this one way all the time. And I just think so many people like push to make everybody be the same, and it's just everybody's different. Like we have 6 full-time employees and 2 offices. There's great planners that have 1 assistant and work from home and have no medical insurance to pay for and no employees and no office, and the way they charge is completely different. They could do 2 or 3 weddings a year at a flat rate, and that's like incredible for them. So I think it's good for our industry that there's options out there, like no matter what caliber you're in. And I also feel like there's a lot of push for everyone to be the same, but like when I talk to interior designers, they all charge different. I don't think there's this like standard class in their industry where they all charge the same way, or architects charge differently. So I just think there should be less pressure to like standardize the way everybody does everything. I think you just have to do what fits for your own company.
Yeah, I love that you said that.
We have been waiting for linens to be picked up for 2 weeks. They haven't come. And of course, right now when we're filming, they're here. So this is what being a luxury planner looks like. You wait 2 weeks to get your linens picked up. I'm going to step out for one second.
Yeah. You're all good. I love that. And I guess, Molly, for listeners who are primarily filmmakers or photographers, and maybe some are still working based on like collections versus custom proposals, at this level of clientele, do you guys have a preference? Like, do you and Sana have a preference on how photographers and filmmakers deliver pricing to you, and then how you deliver those to a client?
I think it's a bit of both. Obviously, we would like to have what their pricing begins at. What are the collections? What are the add-ons? But then we'll also, before even presenting to our clients, we obviously want to know from the photographers and the videographers what their pricing begins, what it includes, what are those packages? Because again, like we were saying with, planning, everyone should be able to charge how they want to be able to charge. But we are also, when we're looking at bringing on, a photographer, a filmmaker, whatever it might be, we're also letting them know, here's what we're looking at. We have 3 days of events. This is the type of coverage they want. Maybe on the welcome party, they only want to have an hour of everyone, arriving and that type of thing. Does this fit into one of your packages? Or is this something that you want to come back to us and say, this is kind of a custom package or offering for you specifically?
Okay. Yeah, that's super helpful. I think that Taylor and I, when we talk to like students within our mastermind group, we say that like it's kind of nice to have both, because either you can like deliver collections to, because sometimes planners still come to us and say like, I'd love to see your collections. Or sometimes they're like, can you build us a custom proposal? Or we can kind of bridge the gap and see what they've told us. Like you said, like, this is the coverage that we need. These are kind of the deliverables the client is looking for. And then we can kind of say, hey, we've just gone ahead and put together a custom proposal. So I think that's really helpful because I think there's other people too that are like, no, I only ever want to see custom proposals. So it can get really kind of confusing for photographers and filmmakers sometimes, especially when they're, stepping into a new like sector of the market. They're like, how does this work? Am I doing this right? It's kind of like this dance of like, am I offending anyone by sending collections? Is it all custom proposals now? So it's good to hear from you guys what you prefer too.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a starting place and then kind of take the conversation from there. But because, no two events are the same, we don't necessarily assume that any event is going to fit in the mold of every package that's kind of being offered.
Yeah. So now sitting in 2024, and I know that people have talked about how it's like a bit of a strange year this year. I myself have 10 events. We'd probably like to do more like 12. We'll see what ends up happening for the rest of the year. But how many weddings, like, do you have a cap of how many you'll take per year? What is kind of like your magic number? Based on the scale of events that you're doing now, what works for you guys? What doesn't work? Like, are you doing 20 events? Are you doing 5 events? Like, kind of walk through the listeners. Yeah, not 20, not 20.
I wouldn't survive if we did 20 events.
Yeah.
I would say that we probably do in a calendar year or about 10 events.
Okay.
And sometimes we have, events that are already looking at next year while some are finishing up this year. Because our events are split between corporate and weddings, usually like maybe 6 of them are weddings. I think that's about what we have this year. Because our team works on everything together, not only will we, only take one event in a weekend, sometimes it's only one event in a total month too. That's not a hard rule we have, but it's really important to us that our clients are not getting, out of office replies from all of us for a long time. So when we do have a big destination event, usually one person will probably stay behind just to make sure that all the other emails for other clients are being answered. But yeah, I would probably say about 10. We don't ever cap ourselves because we're just going to kind of look at our workflow and know if we have time to do that. We also have a corporate client that, they pop in quite a bit last minute and we kind of run all over the world for them. So, we always want to make sure that we've got, time allowed for that too.
And I think it just depends. Like if you have, a wedding in January, then it kind of almost like feels like it's a part of the year prior because you're working on it the year prior, essentially.
Yeah.
Like last year in January, we had a wedding in Cabo and it kind of felt like it was the year, but like it feels so long ago because you worked on it in 2022 for 2023. So I think it just depends on like the overall like spacing of things.
Right. Yeah. Did you guys have years where you took on too much and you were like, I can't, never again?
We pushed every wedding from 2020, as everyone did, to 2021, and then took an entire new year book of business to be able to, maintain what we were doing. So that was an interesting year.
Yeah. I mean, it was basically double.
Yeah.
Almost double of the amount of business. And it was just really, really hard.
Yeah. That was really,
So
that was a really hard year.
I know, for everyone. But I think the thing that made it like we were all able to survive because we knew everybody was in it together. Like every vendor was like, you can make it, like, we're here, there, everywhere. So we did it. But I think the other thing too to just keep in mind is, everybody is saying at least that because of the pandemic, like 2024, 2025 is going to be kind of weird because of like when people got engaged and things like that in 2020. So I don't know if that's true or not, but
it's either that or the fact that we can have everything with the click of a button now. And people don't feel that they need to have this long of a planning period.
Just kind of nice.
Which, I mean, if we don't feel like we necessarily need a year to plan someone's wedding, if they're ready to jump in, we will get this, done for them and in a great place. So, I think that we're going to start seeing, shorter planning periods.
Yeah. I've experienced that too. I think it's hard to know if that's just like the general like click of a button or if it's just the clientele now that we're working with. But like, I mean, I kind of think of it as this level of clientele, they they don't really have to worry about, like, dates at that, like, mainstream wedding factory that maybe, like, more of a budget client has to be mindful of, like, "Oh, we gotta book, we want that Saturday in August, so we gotta book it now, it's a year and a half out," or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Everything is just, like, adjusted so much further. Because I remember back, 2010 to 2015, it was like we never got last minute stuff. And now some of our best stuff were things that they booked like a month out, like 3 weeks out. That might also just because we're video, and a lot of times video is brought on like as one of the later selections or decisions. But if anyone's listening and you're feeling a little bit hesitant about your year, just know that think back to years prior and think of all the things that you said no to that you were bummed at because you said yes to something just to fill a calendar date. So that's kind of something to consider, especially as you're working up in the market. So Molly and Sana, like I said, we have primarily filmmaker and photographer listeners. Of course, I know that there's going to be a lot of planners that tune into this one because they're going to want to hear what you have to say. And you guys have been just so great with your transparency. But if someone is, looking to work with a luxury planner, what is it that you guys are looking at when you're bringing on a new creative partner for the very first time? Say it's a filmmaker that you've never worked with before. You're kind of taking a bit of a chance. What does that process look like? How are you vetting them? What are you looking for in a new photographer or filmmaker?
I think just like an interesting point of view, in their own work. Like I think for us, when you look at stuff so much, it all can just start to look the same. And so I think when you see something, even if it's a 5-second clip on Instagram or one photo that they post that just feels interesting, like I think that's attractive. And you're like, oh, wait, let me look deeper into here and let me like email them or DM them and see like what, they say or how they act, or look further and see if there's like another planner that they've worked with that we can connect with and be like, oh, hey, we saw that you worked with Taylor. Like what, how was that? Or, get some kind of feedback there. But I think that's just it, like something interesting. I think like a photographer that kind of comes to mind is, I don't know if you know Kristen Marie Parker, but I
Yeah.
remember it was like maybe in 2018 or 2019, I saw this photo and it was like the table was messy and abandoned, and there was like shoes on the table and a half-eaten piece of cake or something like that. Like it just wasn't the like pretty put together, like it just felt raw and real. And it's like, oh, that's actually what a table at midnight looks like. And it was the most stunning photo. And like, I just remember DMing her like 5 seconds later and being like, this photo, who are you? Where are you? And just like getting more. And I think since then we've done like 5 or 6 weddings together, some of our favorite weddings together. So I think it's just that, and I think for us, it's the same thing. We have people reach out to us that are like, oh my gosh, I saw this wedding that you did. Like it's such a fresh perspective, or it feels like so interesting. And so obviously that's like, so flattering, and we're so appreciative. And we try to get back to everybody that reaches out to us. And to that point, we will say, can you send a lookbook, or can you send pricing or collection? Because if someone's reaching out to us and it's way out of what we know we usually budget or spend, then we're, politely like, that's not going to work for us. But I think that just kind of being open-minded is the way to be.
Yeah. I love too, because going back to what we were saying to you guys being, trendsetters, tastemakers in the luxury space, it sounds like you kind of look for that same thing in creative partners too. Like you were saying with Kristen's photo, that it was like something different, something trend setting, that you were like, this is different, this is interesting, that resonates with like our values as a company. We want to always kind of be pushing the envelope, doing things a little bit different. I think this would be a really good fit. And I think that's like something so missed in that photographer, filmmaker, planner relationship, is that it really needs to be, you really do need to serve an ideal client together, share that ideal client, and share that same vision for your business and your values of your business. And that's just, I think, what makes such a cohesive working relationship. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for people just starting, like of course you want to work with people that have these big names, but like the clout chasing, it's not going to work. Your stuff's going to look like everybody else's stuff. And then you're going to think that you're attracting this client because you've worked with this person, and it's not going to work out that way. So you're better off building your brand and building your company based on what works for you. I mean, even a couple of weeks ago, we worked with a photographer for the first time that we had never heard of. Our client had followed them forever, loved their work. And we were like, yeah, this looks great. She was incredible. The photos turned out so amazing. Like, we would jump at the chance to work with her again. And she's based in LA, you know? So it's like, you just never know. I mean, floral's the same way. We've had people, I remember one of our best weddings, or our favorite weddings, I should say, years ago, they came to us and they were like, we want to use a florist that we went to high school with. And we were like, oh God,
That
what
could be real bad. What does that mean?
Horrible. And we were like, okay, we'll give it a whirl. And to date, this florist is now huge. One
Wow.
of the biggest florists. Like, we do, you know, they don't do a ton of weddings, but when they do them usually with us, maybe a select other few planners. They do incredible work, and they're an absolute star. So you just can never count out like where people are coming from. So I think that with, you know, even any perspective, like planners or photographers or anything, I think it's just like, as long as you're showing like something that's authentic to what you want to produce or want to believe in, then it will happen. It will go further than just trying to like clout chase something else.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because there is such a shift right now in our industry, and there's a lot of people that are like making changes to their overall brand aesthetic, how they capture a wedding day. And it is true, like you can really tell the people who are just clout chasing, like you said, or people who like it feels authentic to them. And yeah, so I'm glad that you said that, because I think too, like I think all of us have maybe like clout chased in at one point in our business, and then realized that we need to like actually like go back to where we started and like the why of our business, and then kind of reset things. Like I know I've done that in the past, being like,
Done
oh,
that, yeah.
well, yeah, like it's hard, especially in a creative space. Um, but yeah, I think that's really encouraging a lot for a lot of listeners right now, especially while we're in this big shift in the industry that we see moving away from the perfect and kind of coming into the realness and truly how an event felt. Um, Okay, this has been just such a good conversation, you guys. Um, what are you guys excited for in 2025? Is there anything that you guys are really looking forward to? Systems and processes changing, a really incredible wedding. Yeah,
That feels so long away.
I know, it really
It
does.
does
We're
feel.
sitting in June of
I know,
2024.
like halfway over, right?
We've got some fun destinations kind of
definitely.
coming up that will, you know, which we love. I
More
mean,
cities too, which is
Okay.
fun. I feel like it's been tropical and mountainy, so I think like going into like actual big cities is always fun. I mean, we're obviously LA and San Francisco, but to go to other major cities is always just fun to work with new rentals and work with new vendors and just do more of like, I think like chic black tie city weddings. It's always a good time.
That's fun.
Dress.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. And if listeners haven't had a chance to see your incredible work, where can they find you online?
They can find us at Bash Please on Instagram, Bash Please on our website, and we actually just started TikTok. I don't know. Have
Okay.
you branched out into TikTok?
A little bit. It was kind of a pandemic project, and then I kind of let it fizzle, but I might be bringing it back. I'm excited to see what you guys are bringing to the TikTok game.
we're having fun with it.
Yeah, it's just fun. I think it's like a little bit, it's actually, so if you do look for us on TikTok, it's Bash Please Events. But I think it's just fun. It's a little bit more carefree. We're just kind of putting stuff out there and seeing what sticks. I think it's nice to have a break from Instagram where everything is supposed to be so pretty and so perfect and an extension of your portfolio. I think it's just like some fun BTS, some fun old clips and things like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And I look forward to connecting with you guys again.
Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.